When the question, what's the most underrated aspect of Deltarune, is brought up, some people might say the characters, or the music, or the combat. And to that I say, no they aren't. I mean, yeah, those aspects are awesome, but the thing is that we all already know that. Oh, so it must be the puzzles then. Well, I guess it is second place, but there is still one thing that I believe should have a little more appreciation. And that is, of course, this little pink ball thing. Or maybe the art directions of the environments. Actually, yeah, probably the second thing. I just can't stop thinking about how this game looks. And the fact that nobody else is doing the same thing is kind of surprising. And I wouldn't say that everything is amazing. In fact, I'd say that the art direction in this game is best comparable to the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass. Some of it is undetailed and lame. Some of it is very detailed and looks amazing and colorful. And some of it is detailed yet makes me want to fucking vomit. An example of a pretty detailed place that I like is the Dreamer House. It's got small details like the little figures in the windows and good sprite work with the meuble. Couple that with a cozy orange color palette and you got a house that I would definitely be down to live in. And it also goes really well with the music that plays when you visit this place at the end of chapters. I guess the bathroom in this house also counts as a part of the environment, and I don't know, it is fine I guess. It isn't cozy anymore, but at least it doesn't look ugly or anything. Well, boring bathroom or not, this is still an easy A tier and a great start to the game. I'm sure that the first chapter will be able to keep up with the good art direction. And well, it does with the next area at least. The school. When you think of your school, do you think it looks good? Well, that of course greatly varies depending on where you're from, but I can definitely guarantee that the hometown school looks better than my own. This isn't my school, I'm not gonna dox that shit. It's got a pretty good beige color palette with decent details. I think it looks especially pretty in the afternoon post Dark World Adventures where the sun shines through the windows. Also a bit of trivia, before a Pulse of Deltarune was dropped, chapter 1 and 2 looked different at the chalkboard wall. What was up with that? Like, why did Toby make it that way and why did he revert it later? It'll forever be one of the greatest mysteries, but until then this is going in B tier. Dark World time, starting off with the cliffs. Meh. I mean, I can't really expect much. It aims to be some cliffs in a dark void. It is some cliffs in a dark void. I think the detail and the sprite art is the best that it could be, but that has changed the fact that it's just kind of empty. It's going in C tier because it does achieve its goal perfectly, but come on, it's just some cliffs, it's not gonna become anybody's wallpaper. The castle town, but empty. It's whatever, mainly black with a little bit of blue in its color palette. I always found it weird how the castle gate was just a small miniature castle for some reason. Wait, has it been a normal sized castle that's just really far away from the camera this entire time? Holy shit, makes so much sense now! Minus point for taking me this long to realize though. But also it does look kind of cool when you realize there's depth. But like, is the castle just sitting there on the ground with the door faced up? It goes in C tier. Now with the field of hopes and dreams, we got the first look into the Card Kingdom. The first place in the Dark World with color. It got a beautiful and amazing song that ranks in pretty much everybody's top 3 chapter 1 songs. But more than that, it has, of course, an environment that looks like— ah, what the fuck is that? Ew! It looks hideous! What's up with the purple lean grass? I mean, it sounds cool in theory, but the realized idea looks so fucking awful. And what about everything else? Why is it just black the moment the grass gets cut off? Black and ugly purple? Is that the best color palette you got? What more do we have? The candy trees are acceptable. There's also the normal tree that I think are better to talk about in another segment, but for now, these red outlines are the second biggest motivation I have to myself. There's also some gray parts where there are puzzles coupled with some blue roads with no texture at all. What's up with these roads? Why are they blue? I fucking hate them. Actually, this is my first time ever thinking about them, that's how nothing they are. Look, I can understand why some people might like this place, because it has quite a bit of color and detail. But for me personally, I hated the purple grass before hating purple was cool. F tier. Now for the checkerboard. It could be worse. I mean, the colors still aren't the best, but like, it got a cool ominous background, and I don't know, I guess the board itself looks kind of cool. But then again, it isn't that much really. D tier. Hey, Scarlet Forest, fuck you! Is it worse than the field? Probably not. But it is the point where you start to realize just how much the atmosphere of the card kingdom is ruining the chapter. It's still got that black void ground whenever there's ground off path, and those trees from earlier are plentiful now. And as I hinted at earlier, they are very ugly. This thing right here is actually kind of fine. At least compared to this piece of shit. Yeah, I think I blamed the wrong guy earlier, because this is what actually traumatizes me. First tree may not be the best, but at least the colors are vibrant. This sprite is a bunch of trees placed together where the leaves are a combination of a faded shade of red that looks ugly and an even more faded shade of red that looks even uglier. A big difference in what makes chapter 2 great and chapter 1 not so great is that chapter 2 makes me feel like I don't ever want to leave the Dark World. The place is fantastic and I want to stay here. But in chapter 1 I feel like I want to escape as quickly as possible. And while yes, some parts of that is due to some minor story differences, like how Susie only realizes that she liked the Dark World and wants to go back after Founder's already sealed, while in chapter 2 Noelle talks about how much better the Dark World is when they are still in it. It can also be attributed to how breathtaking the chapter 2 Dark World looks. Meanwhile in chapter 1, I'm not exploring a Dark World, I'm trapped in a Dark World, surrounded by these trees that makes me so claustrophobic that I want to spend 4 months working on video ranking every single environment in Deltarune just so that I can get a chance to hate on these stupid fucking trees. This is also the point where I start to question where the light sources come from. I know that this is hella nitpicky, but like, it's a pitch black sky. Are there any lanterns just off screen? The trees looks kind of strange in the middle of the dark like this. I could yap on for hours, but you should be able to tell by now that this is S tier. The basement. It's like cliffs. Does its concept the best it can, but with that said, the concept isn't even fun to begin with. C tier. The card castle. What is this? There are two things here. There's black everything and white outlines. Did Toby Fox forget what a texture was? I mean, I guess it is better than a feel, because at least no textures means that it just looks bland and not ugly, but I don't think bland is supposed to be something to be happy about. Also, why is it so black anyways? Toby Fox, it's a card castle. Please tell me how your cards look. This is how mine look. As you can see, they are pretty white. Why the fuck did you decide to make it black? It looks so boring and blonde. And also, card castle? That's like an actual word. That's, you know, something that people build IRL. Card castles are real and they look like this. Yeah! Now let's compare it to the card castle in Deltarune. I'm not gonna ask what, but I am gonna ask why. Like, genuinely, be real with me. Wouldn't the card castle being an actual card castle be so much cooler than it just being a castle with some cards added? I would have much rather seen the creativity in play as the fun gang climbs an actual card castle. And best of all, it wouldn't be as black as chaotic. You know, I would put it in D tier, but due to the fact that the theme is such a big missed opportunity, it is going in F tier. Fuck you, card castle. You're the biggest disappointment since the full version of Power of Neo turned out to just be the same melody repeated 20 times. The circus, I guess? Meh. Wait, it's got a cool 3D thing. Slightly less meh. Top of the C tier. The Chaos King Battle Arena. It is decent, but the color palette is still like blue, grey and black, so it still feels a bit boring. However, there is also an animated dark fountain, which is kind of cool. Still C tier though. Do we look at the fountain room? Sure, let's make it quick. The fountain glows. I fucking love glow effects. This is going in A tier. Hometown. Finally. Something actually good. Hey, isn't it weird how the only chapter 1 environments that look good are the ones that also reappear in later chapters? Almost as if Toby was trying to make chapter 1 mediocre. But Hometown is where the visuals peak. Even if I think that fall is one of the uglier seasons, even I can't deny that this orange trees and this yellow-green grass is just cozy. It even got a nice shore. And also it is of course nice to finally be able to see the light again after so long. I think it's pretty obvious A tier. However, don't forget that there's also a bunch of houses in Hometown you can enter. Let's speedrun through them all. Flower King. Pretty flowers at the bottom, intentionally ugly at the top. B tier. QC's. It looks pretty decent. Also B tier. Hospital. It's just white. C tier. Town Hall. It's just light grey. C tier. Library. I prefer the green over white. B tier. This trash alleyway is actually kinda good now that I'm looking at it. B tier. And that concludes chapter 1. Moving on to the next chapter, I want to make something clear. You may notice that I am generally more positive towards the environments in chapter 2. That is not a chapter 2 bias. I don't like chapter 2 environments because I like chapter 2 more. No, you got it wrong. I like chapter 2 more because the chapter 2 environments are better. Not the other way around. Okay, there are more reasons than that, but yes, the art direction of chapter 2 is actually a big reason for why I prefer it. It has some of the most beautiful art direction I've seen in a video game. And it all starts, of course, with this. Wait, I gotta go over the field castle town first. Yeah, I separated the two castle towns because I do think that they are different enough to get their own segments. The full castle town, or my castle town, is pretty okay. It's a bit better than the empty castle town because this one has things. I'm not gonna rank every house in its own segments, but I like the look of the cafe. Though the dojo is a bit mediocre and the bakery is just fine. Both Chris and Susie's rooms look comfortable and I love the möbler they have, but Lancer's room is about on the same level as the card castle. Mainly because it quite literally is the card castle. Anyways, you might think that I'm underrating this place because you would want to live here more than any other place in Deltarune. And yeah, I actually agree, it would be really nice to live here. However, that's more because of the dialogue and lore within this town, not due to any art direction choices. Therefore, this place is just getting beat here. The following segment may have bright lights. Be aware. I'ma be real with you guys, I don't think chapter 1 was that great. I still liked it and all that, but I wouldn't dare to call this game excellent at all. By the time I was done with the first chapter, I considered the game being around a 6 to 7 out of 10 for me. But all of that changed for me right around here. The Cyber Road is the most beautiful thing I've seen in my life. Where do I even start, man? It's amazing how it begins with you sliding down this wall as you dodge bullets, sync with the music. And then, once you get down, the music swells so you get to see this large road with a beautiful city in the background. And oh, there's already so much I want to talk about. I'll start with the city. Man, do I love this city background. You might be saying, oh, but Lexlorious, it's just a city background, what's so cool about that? But you don't get it, because it brings so much life and joy to this place. In the Card Kingdom, everything felt so closed up, and like it was just some random fuck-ass fields and forests you were exploring. But this city makes me feel like it's an endless world of infinite wonders, and makes me happy thinking about all the people living in it. Looking back, you may notice that the fact that all of the environments in chapter 1 took place in an endless night wasn't great for its art direction in my opinion. But why is that? I mean, think about it. The fact that a place is set in the night doesn't have to be a bad thing, right? There's definitely things that can look really cool simply because it's taking place at night. Think about beautiful star skies, amazing lit up cities at night. Even going back to the Booster Course Pass, the Wii Rainbow Road remake is at night and it looks beautiful. So what's the difference between this and just some forest in the night? Think about it. It's the opposite of the night. The light. Wait, that's the day. Whatever, the lights are what I want to talk about. If you would have a star sky during the day, then you wouldn't be able to see any stars. But if you could see them, the light of them wouldn't be as cool due to the presence of the sunlight. Same with cities. You can have lights during the day, but what's the point when a light doesn't contrast with the dark? Meanwhile, here's a bunch of trees in a nighttime environment, and here's a bunch of trees in a daytime environment. I'd argue that the daytime doesn't just work, but looks better. Because a night should complement an environment, not drag it down, and the Cyber Road definitely took note of that. The houses of the city is purely lit up by their windows. There are Ferris wheels with their own lights. There are even these random ass green radar waves. Even the road itself has its own lights. Also, remember when I complained earlier that the Scarlet Forest didn't have any lights? Well, surprise, that wasn't weird filler, that was set up for this part where I get to exclaim that the Cyber Road got its lights correct. Yeah, sadly none of it is glowing, probably because it is pretty hard to do it with pixel art, but it's still awesome that it's there. But I can keep on mentioning great stuff. The fact that the sky isn't a pitch black but rather an orange dark blue gradient is so perfect, it looks glorious. It's the type of sky that would make you look up and go, wait, shit, I gotta tell my friends to look at the sky, except a little bit darker. And I haven't even begun to talk about the simple fact that the road itself is a bright green, which is the greatest color of all time. And all of this can be said about the first fucking room! But if you continue, I can just keep on rambling about everything amazing. The floating animated screen things, the obstacles that drop bars sync with the music, the teacup elevator with the sound effects making this place feel more lively. And also, if you ride them high enough, you'll reach the skies and there are stars there, just like the very thing I said looks so beautiful. Ah! Hey, would you like to know my only critique on chapter 2? I mean the one thing that I don't like about this chapter. Actually, that's not entirely true. There's more like 3 things. Whatever. Something that I despise is just the fact that we do not spend enough time in this area. At some point you'll just be casually heading towards the next room in this spectacular area. The music just stops. Just like that. Silent. If you keep going forward you'll fight Burley and then never see this place again. What? Bro just cooked the hardest place to ever exist and then never made us return. And I'm not just complaining that we don't get to see it anymore in the main story, but also that even if you can return to it, there's just no reason to return except for like the camera Easter egg. Can't they at least make it required to go here to fight the secret boss or something? It also means that on replays it feels like you get done with the place way too quickly. But that doesn't mean that I'm done! Hey, you know some people get a brain aneurysm and fucking die when they realize that their favorite Deltarune character isn't real? I mean, what's even the point without him? Well, I'm not like that. I am perfectly fine with the fact that Ralsei, Susie, Haffy, Noel, Burley, Chris are all fictional and I'll never meet them. But you know what I'm not fine with? The fact that I will never ever be able to visit the cyber road IRL. Like, think about how it feels to walk on a road in your everyday life. The sights are lame, right? Now imagine that you're walking on a bright green metal road. It is night, but the lights still shine around you for a beautiful scenery. But hopefully not in a way that triggers your sensory issues. You're high up into the sky with a blissful city beneath you. Walking forward, hearing sounds of your steps on the metal echo throughout the cyber world. Life cannot feel more like a sci-fi magical dream. Because that's what it is. A dream. Because this thing will never be a reality. Please, if there's any secret billionaire watching this video, then please turn this place into a real theme park. I promise it will sell a cyber-tillion tickets. I don't care if you built in the States, the Kingdom, even Denmark. I'll fly there just to see this place become a reality, please! I don't let any of the songs affect the ranking of the environments, but due to the fact that this song feels so connected to its environment, I wanna talk about it too. It starts off with just the core melody in its simplest tune, and due to the chiptune sound of it, it feels like turning on a nostalgic retro game after not playing it for ages. But then, as the song builds up and hits its drop, it feels like you are transported into the TV and enter a cyber's world. And from here it is just magical. It really feels sci-fi-esque, but also retro and nostalgic. Unfortunately, talking about songs is quite hard when you don't really know how to produce music yourself. Proof of that is comment sections on music videos, so I'm just gonna let the song play as I talk about something else. Wanna know one of my favorite things about this place, or even chapter that I haven't mentioned until now? Just the small detail of having fireworks. Both the ones you see at the Cyber City Heights and once you get the 3 blue check marks look glorious. But my favorite instance of them appearing is at the conveyor belt. And what I like to do is after the battle against the sweet cap and cakes, just stand still before the conveyor belt and wait for the song to hit its slower part at the end. And then step onto the conveyor belt and admire the fireworks show. The sounds and amazing look of the fireworks shooting up into the sky makes this adventure feel less like an adventure and more like the adventure. One that will be remembered for ages. One whose nostalgia will hit the hardest once you replay this game years later. Toby, Tammy, whoever made this environment, I truly thank you for gifting me this masterpiece. It goes in C tier. Nah, just kidding, this is as S tier as it gets. Fuck it, the Burley coaster gets its own segment. It looks pretty cool. The city background is nice, I like the look of the steel tracks even if I love tree tracks more, and it's got the only dark fountain that doesn't get reused in a million YouTube thumbnails. An A tier I'd say. The trash zone isn't trash despite what the name would have you expect. Yeah, but it ain't any more than that, it gets C tier. Ooh, the Cyber City! Where do I begin? First of all, this sign that says "Welcome to the city" goes hard. Generally, I like the details of the city, like its floating advertisements or the cool windows at the Addisons, and the tiny cars walking over the tiny bridges. Or maybe they are normal sized cars that are just very far away from the camera. Somehow. Regardless, the Cyber City arguably has the best world building out of any area in this game. Like, come on, there's a puzzle where you need to flick a switch that someone gives the car's legs that makes them slow down. Who the fuck comes up with this shit? I love it. But if we just take the standard blue road black houses design, I think it's good, I guess. I know it's basically just a black and blue color palette, but I think it's a bit more aesthetically pleasing than the black and red in Chapter 1. Oh, so when Chapter 1 uses blue roads, it's the end of the world, but when Chapter 2 uses them, it is aesthetically pleasing? Man, explain your logic, dear Lexand. But all in all, I think this city is pretty lively and I like it. Goes in A tier. The Cyber City heights are like the Cyber Road if the Cyber Road was just good. That's such a perfect description that I'm not even gonna elaborate. A tier. Queen's Mansion, or the Pandora Palace. It's good and stuff. When it comes to the standard hallways, I think Toby and his team has by now gotten pretty comfortable with their sprite work, and it looks pretty good. I wouldn't say that this is anything amazing that I wow at, but compared to the detailless card castle, this is a giant improvement. It's got actual detail and things to look at, and it's got color. I like it when a server program that supports multiple colors does indeed use multiple colors. For some reason I think that the main entrance is oddly beautiful in this blue. Don't know what to say, it just looks pretty luxurious. And we of course can't forget the Giga Queen statue in all its glory. In general, I just appreciate how the game took a complete 180 compared to the card castle with this palace. While the card castle took a vaguely spooky, empty feeling atmosphere, this place decided to instead max out the fun bar by having a high-paced song and an overall palace that greatly reflects the queen's character. Kind of goofy, yet also a bit fancy. I won't have time to talk about every single room and variation in this place, but the overall palace goes in B tier. You may wonder why I skipped the acid tunnel part of all things, and that's because I think it's deserving of its own entire segment. Why? Because look at this! I love this tunnel solely because of one reason: the acid river itself. It's just the perfect shade of green. You've probably realized by now that green is my favorite color, and the acid tunnel of love picked a damn good shade of it. And that's all, I guess. Amazing looking water in this acid tunnel. Wait, I also love how the acid just glows up and down onto the walls. S tier för helvete. The basement in Queen's Mansion is something I overlooked at first, but think about it, I believe it actually did kind of a good job. I love how when you enter this place the border fades out. It doesn't switch to any darker, spookier border at all. It just disappears, which makes this place feel more lonely. But worry not, filthy PC users, because this place is also eerie without the borders fading away. Because I also just love the shroud of mystery here. The empty chests, the houses in the background of the spammed neophyte, the fucking image friend, and it is all intensified with the near quiet music, where the silence is occasionally broken up with the sounds of the alligator things, or the elevator. B tier. Noelle's room looks better than the card castle interior because the outlines are slightly cyan instead of completely white. And also I guess the möbler looks prettier, and yeah, the moon looks cool, and it got some snowflakes on the wall. I think a lot of small stuff in this room slightly elevates this place to C tier. The Queen's Battle Arena, as well as the overall rooftop area, looks better than the Chaos King Battle Arena because it's more colorful and stuff. I like the red carpet you walk on, and it also got the city background. It's one of those things this chapter has that just makes me love it. A tier. Well, that was a much greater dark hole, but don't think we are done yet, okay? We still got some new hometown places, as well as a bonus one at the end. Police station. It's like blue, I guess? C tier. Icy's Pets is good though. It's all yellow and okay, honestly I don't know what the point of analyzing these hometown houses is anymore. Let's just get on with the video. By now I've made it clear that Chapter 2's art direction is massively superior to the first one. But will the game be able to keep this up? Sometimes I have to stay up at night fearing that Toby Fox just accidentally cooked with Chapter 2 and that the rest of the chapters will have the same quality as Chapter 1. And while believing that that's a possibility is really irrational, I still must analyze the art direction of the previews of the upcoming chapters that's been given to us. Because as we've established by now, art direction is all that matters and all that ever will matter. So let me inspect the quality of the sprite work done in the green room. I think it's good, I think. There's not too much to add since we all got one room and most of it looks fine. I enjoy the textures of the floor. But something that puts this slightly above good is that I quite like the walls with the green gradients and stars on them. They look cool, this analysis is getting boring. And here's the final tier list. I made a template for it on tier maker, so you can make your own if you want. The link will be present in the description. And that's it. This will probably be my last video before chapter 3 and 4 releases. I've had fun making this, but it's also been like 6 months of work and I just feel kind of tired and want to move on from making Deltarune videos for a while. In the meantime, I'll probably be putting a lot more work into Silton Studios, which is a Swedish comedy channel where me and my friend makes Swedish comedy videos. If you know Swedish, then please check it out. Like, please, we don't have that much of an audience. Even if you don't know Swedish, I still have its latest video subtitled, so you have no excuse at all not to check it out. Please check it out. Also, for those wondering what happened to the Mad Mew Mew video, I wanted to release it in June, but I couldn't get it done in time, so I'm delaying it to June of next year. And while you're waiting, please give any thoughts you have on the editing. I love editing and I want to improve my editing. And check out Silton Studios. Meanwhile, I'll be layering Nederlands or something. I don't know. Good night.